Because Milwaukie High School was a high school of diversity, I felt it was important to teach the students that men and women of all races have served and fought and sacrificed and died for our country, and it's important, very important for me to bring in veterans of color, and that was my goal, and I accomplished that, but it led to some amazing friendships. First, it started out in 1996. We have Bill Holloman and Ed Drummond, both Tuskegee Airmen, both of them World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam veterans, and it led to an amazing friendship until they passed away.
At lunch, Hap searches the crowd, hoping to find a Tuskegee Airman. Hap says the black fighter pilots saved his life. Pilots like Bill Holloman.
Did you actually fly cover for any of us?
Yeah. I was on the Berlin mission.
They flew cover for us, but the thing that I regret is that they were segregated at that time, and we couldn't even socialize with them whatsoever.
Well, we knocked down 3 of them.
But that was then. Today was for personal moments.
Nice meeting you, Bill.
Okay, Hap.
God bless you.
Okay, we'll be in touch.
We've gone a long ways.
Hold it.
Yes, sir.
We'll have to cut him down now. We've got 2 more coming in.
This is a gift from Bill Holloman that he autographed and said to my dear friend, and basically thank you for allowing us to teach the young people today of the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen. Brought in many veterans that were Tuskegee Airmen over the years and got very close to them, and my wife and I got very close to their wives. They were very, very appreciative and grateful that they were being allowed to tell their story, educate their story to the Tuskegee Airmen, not only the racism they went through for the right to serve, but serving overseas in World War II against Germany.
When they get a chance to talk with veterans, they get a better understanding of freedom is not free. These young people will spend a great deal more time seeing that whatever it is that makes freedom happen continues. I was really impressed.
One was Lieutenant Colonel Richard Macon, who was shot down and was a prisoner of war, and he was actually up at a firing squad getting ready to be executed before a German general stopped it because they wanted to interrogate him.
And they took me up elevation to a fence, and they tried to stand me against the fence, and I couldn't stand. And each time they would turn me loose, I'd fall, or start to fall, and they would grab me and I'd be unconscious. And I don't know, but they wasted a lot of time like that trying to get me set up for execution. Finally, I decided that I would give them some assistance, get this thing over with. This left leg, I could push a little bit. So when they stood me up, I pushed myself against the fence, and I didn't fall this time. And I know they must have hit high fives because they got it down, and they left me. And then the order was given for the execution to come out. They came out, you could hear them, hey. You could hear them make the face movement. And then, that means ready. And you heard them say, and the next order is aim, of course. I knew this was it. The next order would take care of me. But that damn fence, the gate opened. And when the gate opened, somebody hollered, Achtung! It's attention in German for you guys. And you heard all the heels hitting and got real quiet. And pretty soon, there was a loudmouth talking down there. And if you've ever been in the German army, why do I say that? If you've ever been in the German army, you know that the higher rank you have, the louder you can talk. If I'm a captain and you are a private, I can talk to you like this, and you have to whisper to me. And I heard this loudmouth talking. And in the process of talking, he said, Lieutenant Macon. He's talking about me, now they're going to do something else to me. Okay, so 3 men came up, took my blindfolds off, and took me down to him. And I was, by some miracle, saved from the firing squad, and I went in for interrogation. I'll stop the story there, but there's a lot more to it. It's very interesting.
Another one is Roger Bill Terry. Roger Bill Terry was a football, basketball player at UCLA. His roommate and best friend was the famous Jackie Robinson of baseball fame. Terry wanted to be a Tuskegee Airman, so he joined, and he's responsible for helping organize the Freeman Field Mutiny because they were not allowed to go into the White Officers Only Club. He is the only one that was tried, convicted of treason, and was a convicted felon for 50 years until it was overturned by President Clinton and Congress in 1996. Bill never talked about this until we brought him to Portland, and even the first year he was here, he refused to talk to students. We got Bill to open up and start telling more and more about it, and it was healing for him. 2005, the Tuskegee Airmen were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. He went back, many of them that were able to travel were able to receive that gold medal, and that was a huge honor. A month before he passed away, Bill Terry gave me his Congressional Gold Medal. And this is my most honored, cherished gift. It's unbelievable, but he was very grateful. Another sign of their gratitude was Bill Holloman and Lieutenant General Alex Jefferson, who's still living. He's the only one that's still living, 94 years old. This is Alex Jefferson's book, Red Tail Capture, Red Tail Free, and that's him as a young man. And it's an amazing book in there because he learned how to draw and became quite the artist is his stint in the prison camp. And it's an amazing book, an amazing story, so you'll have to look it up and buy it if you want to learn more about it. 94 years old, flew myself and my family to Hawaii, put us up in a big condo on the Hawaiian Hilton, and paid for everything. And it was their way of saying thank you for us, allowing us to teach the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen. But many others, that William Ellis, who came up, but he passed away, wasn't able to build a friendship with him, but got to meet him. Another one, Mitch Higginbotham was another one. They all autographed this poster. Of course, this is a hat from Bill Terry, the Tuskegee Airmen chapter of Los Angeles. Over here was Lieutenant Colonel Ed Drummond, which you saw the picture first, that he came every year. And then, of course, Bill Holloman's, all of their memorial, the families asked me to speak at every memorial of the Tuskegee Airmen. And it's just been, what an honor. And the stories that they've told me it's all going to be in a book someday.
I know, but we got more time than they got. But we'll be glad to answer your questions upstairs. Thank you.
Also in 1996, I was able to track down some Navajo code talkers and brought them in. The first one was Samuel Billison, who was on Iwo Jima. That very next year, he sends me this poster here, this autograph by all of the Navajo code talkers. And of course, most of them are probably all gone now. Over the years, I was able to bring in Samuel Sandoval.
So I found out at Camp Pendleton that there was a code school using the Navajo language. Let me remind you, this Navajo language is not the everyday language. Like if I want to speak to my wife Navajo, it's entirely different. Words are the same, but it has different meaning. We had to develop our own code, and it was quite a task. The code itself does not have military terminology. Like ship, we only have one word for. In everyday Navajo language, one word for ship. Same with airplane, one word. But how are we going to do it? How are we going to create a code that the Japanese wouldn't break.
I was able to bring in another guy named Sam Adams, and it led to an amazing experience of reaching out to veterans, Native American veterans. This bolo tie is a gift from Al Lane, who was a Yakima warrior, and handmade, and he was a World War II Marine and Korean War Marine in the chosen few, the chosen reservoir. So as we come over here, we also have a picture of the Blackfeet veterans from Montana. And then Don Loudner is the national commander of the American Indian Veterans Association. He's a Sioux from North Dakota or South Dakota. This is Robert Delsai, who's an Apache Vietnam veteran, heavily involved with veterans in southwestern states. Of course, Frank Buckles was America's last living World War I veteran. This was the president of the Tuskegee Airmen, Lieutenant General Russell Davis, whose father was a Tuskegee Airman, and of course me. But this right here is Philip Kuhn, who was a World War II veteran, Bataan Death March survivor, slave laborer, prisoner of war of the Japanese. His son, Michael, served in the Vietnam War. His son, Michael, joined and served in Afghanistan and Iraq several tours. Sadly, this past year he committed suicide, and it's very unfortunate. This is Alex Matthews, who's speaking between President Clinton, and there's Hillary Clinton. Look at that, way back then. And he handmade this polo and gave to me, and then some sweetgrass they gave to me, but I spoke at his funeral in Oklahoma. And this, of course, is Philip Kuhn. And this led to, when I spoke at his funeral on the Comanche Reservation in Oklahoma, there was probably 1,000 Native Americans there, all different tribes, veterans from all different tribes. And I said, where's all the white military people? There's an army base just down the road. Where are they? And this lady turned around in her 90s and she said, it's all right. They've never honored or recognized us, and they never will. But we've always honored and recognized our warriors, and we will continue to do so. After speaking at Alex Matthews' funeral service in the gymnasium where there was over 1,000 Native Americans in attendance, Alex, of course, was a World War II veteran, Pawnee Indian, Bataan Death March survivor, Hell Ship survivor, slave labor survivor, POW of the Japanese. We went to the grave site. It was a traditional Pawnee burial ceremony where each one grabbed some dirt and put it on his grave. At the grave site, they called my name out and they put this blanket over my shoulder. I did not know what that meant at the time until afterwards. One of the ladies came up and says, do you realize that's considered a great honor in the Native American culture? It was very emotional and very powerful, and it was their way of saying thank you for what you did to allow him to teach students about Native Americans serving in our country's military.
I wondered about it. Why did this happen to me? I'm now 86, going on 87. I've been through this. I look back on my life, some of the things that happened, I'm still able to carry on. Yet, in the long run, you have a lot to be thankful for.
That was in 2007. The very next year, I brought in 33 different tribes from 8 different states and 111 Native American veterans from all over, and that led to some amazing friendships. For example, the Blackfeet veterans, and these are the gifts that they have given me. This is not an eagle feather, because if you're non-native you cannot have an eagle feather, but everything else is authentic and handmade. Of course, that's their nation's flag. This is a gift from one of their veterans. It's a handmade old weapon from hundreds of years ago. Then Walter Running Crane, a Silver Star recipient, Purple Heart recipient of Vietnam, handmade that pipe and gave to me. And so it's just been, this last Last year, the Seminoles, veterans from Oklahoma, presented me with this handmade vest. Beautiful. And handmade what we call lacrosse, which of course was a Native American game, and this stuff, and he said it's a brutal physical game, that people, there's broken bones and broken noses, it's violent. But what I've learned is that these Native American veterans and the people are the most giving, most compassionate, most loving people I've ever met. And I've been to some of their places. I've been to the reservation at Browning, Montana. I've been to the reservation down at Gila River. Third world poverty. They have nothing. And it's really a travesty, but I just amazing people. I'm so grateful I got to meet them. Another one was a good friend. Was a Sioux Indian, Korea, and a Vietnam veteran. And there's a poster of him up there that the Marine Corps likes to use. It has him choking a recruit back in the 50s and said, "We don't promise you shit." Here's a hat from the Blackfeet veterans, the National American Indian Veterans Association, Comanche veterans. We also have many gifts from the Native American veterans. Like I said, I've never met a more giving, awesome people. Obviously, this is a picture of me shaking hands with President Clinton in 2000, and in that picture is Senator Robert Dole, who ran for president and was Speaker of the House, World War II veteran, 10th Mountain Division, Purple Heart. And I was being honored there. I was able to bring another Milwaukee teacher and about 5 Milwaukee students, because we were the first high school, and it led and inspired schools across the nation to raise money and donate to the World War II Memorial, which everybody knows about now.
And we thank the contributors, large and small. And I wonder if Mr. President, all the young people stand up, all the school kids stand up, here from Maryland and Wisconsin and all across America.
But we raised $10,000 in 1998, and we're number one.
More than 1,100 schools across our nation have raised money for the memorial. Let me just tell you about one of them, Milwaukie High School in Milwaukie, Oregon. 5 years ago, a teacher named Ken Buckles wanted to pay tribute to the World War II veterans. He and his students searched out local veterans and invited them to school for a Living History Day. Earlier this week, Living History Day 2000 honored more than 3,000 veterans with a recreated USO show that filled the pro basketball arena.
And there's just so many people that without their help, none of this would have been possible. But the thing is this is so much bigger than just honoring you veterans. It truly is bridging generations. For now, a baby boomer to our teenagers, we understand the high cost of freedom, and we look up to you and admire you and respect you, and we want to be like you as we get older. And so many of you have said, gosh, 99% of these teenagers are great kids. And it's that way all over the country, in every high school. I truly believe it. They just need a chance to prove it, and tonight they proved it, and this was their way of saying thank you to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken Buckles.
And we're very proud of that. And what's so amazing about it was that everyone said, teachers, administrators, adults, etc., said, you will never get kids to donate money to send to Washington, D.C. for some memorial. They'll never do it. And then there was people upset saying, you're going to raise this money and take it out of the community and send it back to Washington, D.C. That is so wrong. And I said, well, give me a shot. Let me see if I can do it. So I went to a pep assembly and I told them, I said, you guys seen the Living History Day, and you're familiar with the veterans, and you think they're They're our heroes, and we thank them and honor them, right? Should they have a memorial in Washington, D.C.? Of course, kids, yeah, we should have it. I said, do you realize they're just starting the fundraising effort right now? Tom Hanks is the poster boy for it. It says, what do you think about Milwaukie High being the first school in the nation to lead this charge and set an example and raise the money? Yeah, we'll do it. I'll tell you what, let's start it today. I opened my wallet and took out a $100 bill. It says, here's the first donation from me. And then 2 other teachers pulled out cash and walked forward and gave me money. And that started it, and the kids went crazy. $10,000. And what's so cool nowadays, because of social media, Facebook, etc., they're in their 30s, okay, and late 30s, and they got kids. I just saw the World War II memorial, and I told my kids that I helped raise money for this thing, and it's such a cool thing to be proud of. Yes, we are proud of that fact. In May of 2000, I was a keynote speaker for a big banquet for the Military Order of the World Wars. It's an organization that was created right after World War I, and this was the Oregon chapter. And by the way, since in the last 20 years, I've probably spoken at hundreds of national reunions, state reunions, conventions, luncheons, breakfast, dinners, you name it, all over. It's been a tremendous honor. But little did I know, they started talking about this prestigious award called the Gold Patrick Henry Medallion for Patriotic Achievement. And they start talking about how impressive it was, and they said there's only 3 recipients this year, and one of them was Ross Perot. Well, Ross Perot was a very famous, wealthy philanthropist who also ran for president in 2002 and obviously wasn't elected. The other one was Representative Henry Hyde, congressman from Michigan, who was the Speaker of the House. So we're saying, wow, these are 2 pretty big-time impressive people. I said, someone in this organization is really being honored. Then they go on and say that no one on the entire West Coast region from California to Alaska has ever been awarded this award since 1919. And then they announce the 3rd recipient is Ken Buckles. And so I get this and this plaque. And this led to a congratulatory phone call from Ross Perot from Texas, and he came to our next Living History Day, flew himself up in his private Learjet, and was a guest speaker at the Assembly of Honor that we held at the Modus Center. It was in the Rose Garden, home of the Trailblazers.
Mr. Buckles had the dream. The school all came together. This didn't have Hollywood. It didn't have millions of dollars of outside money, but what a show and what an expression of patriotism this is. And I would like for all of you to give a standing ovation to the students and Mr. Buckles and all the people involved in showing the world what we're made of.
But that was a tremendous honor saying, and I'm still the only one on the entire West Coast since 1919 to receive the Patrick Henry Gold Medallion Patriotic Award. This is Frank Buckles, America's last living World War I veteran. In this picture, he's 109 years old. He would live to be 110 until he passed away. But it's an incredible story. Frank was 15 when he lied about his age to join the military because everybody had to get into the war. You got to remember back then, there's no TV, there's no radio, there's no computers. They hear nothing about the glories of war. The glories of the great Civil War is what he heard from relatives and friends. Says, so we got to get into this war. Little did he know that war is horrible. He finally, the Navy turns him down, the Marines turn him down, the Army accepts him. He gets sent over to England where he's drives a Jeep for an officer. He begs the officer to get to France. I got to get to the front before the war ends. They get him over there. They put him on an ambulance truck. He's in an ambulance division, with Ernest Hemingway, who's also in that ambulance corps, and Walt Disney. So he goes to the front and brings back wounded. When the war ended, he is asked to escort German prisoners of war back to Germany, and that's where he starts to learn the German language. One of his good friends was President Teddy Roosevelt's sons, and he comes back and gets involved in the Roosevelt steamship industry, and the next 20 years he sails the seas. And he goes to countries all over the world, and he learns to speak 5 different languages. Well, in 1931, they get moved to Hamburg, Germany as their base, and he joins an elite equestrian club, and this elite equestrian club are all officers and generals of the German army. This was in 1934. 1935, he goes to a big fundraising banquet for the 36th German Olympic team. The keynote speaker is Adolf Hitler. He walks right by Adolf Hitler, and Americans are ordered off Germany in 1937 because they said we're going to war. He accepts a job in Manila, the Philippines, in charge of shipping and receiving of Dock Number 7. Paradise. He becomes friends with General MacArthur and his wife, escorts General MacArthur's wife to church every Sunday and back to him to the squad car, and says good morning and good afternoon to General MacArthur. Well, 8 hours after Pearl Harbor's attack, the Japanese invade the Philippines. Frank could have got off the island, but he refused. He joins the guerrilla force, and for the next 6 months he smuggles supplies over to the island of Corregidor, the last holdout for the American forces. He is captured, and he spends the next 3.5 years in a prison camp, Los Banos prison camp, where they are rescued by the 11th Airborne 15 minutes before they're all going to be machine gunned to death by the Japanese soldiers. It's an amazing story. The Los Banos raid, the 11th Airborne jumps at dawn. It's an incredible story. He's one of the survivors, and he came to the Living History Day at Milwaukie High when he was 99, 100, and 101, and spoke of his World War I stories, but he would never talk about the prisoner of war stories. He asked to be buried in 2008 in Arlington National Cemetery. Well, because Arlington National Cemetery is filling up, he said, no, you cannot. You have to be Medal of Honor or killed in action or Purple Heart. So when I was in Washington, D.C., I met with the president of Arlington National Cemetery. They said no. I wrote our senators. No. I wrote our governor. No. I wrote, because he lived in West Virginia, I wrote the West Virginia governor, the West Virginia senator, Senator Rockefeller. No, it can't be done. The Pentagon, Army, cannot be done. It will never, ever happen. Well, I remembered Ross Perot. We got the same award years ago, and I called Ross Perot, and I said, I've got a problem. He said, Kenny, don't worry about it. I've known Georgie since he was a little baby. He says his dad and I are good friends. First President Bush. George Bush was the current president. He says, now you keep quiet about this. He says, we'll make it happen. You just don't talk about it anymore. 1 week later, I'm watching the national news. President Bush signs an executive order allowing America's last living World War I veteran, Frank W. Buckles, to be buried in Arlington National Cemetery. His wish was fulfilled. He was buried full military honors. Unbelievable. They shut Arlington down. I've never seen so many veterans, military, Secret Service. It was incredible. President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden were there and paid their respects. It was absolutely incredible. He was an amazing man, and I'm grateful and honored to call him my great uncle.
Hi, Frank.
People ask, why did you do this? Why did you start this? Why do you still do this? And the answer is my father, Gordon Wayne Buckles. He was a Marine. He joined the Marines in '47, was in the United States Marine Corps Band, had a great life, but when the North Koreans crossed the border and then the Korean War started out, they were sent over to Korea as riflemen. They said, hey, we're bandsmen. No, you're not. You're riflemen first. Growing up, I always thought something was wrong with him. I thought he was strange. Now I look at it and it's all the symptoms of post-traumatic stress. 1984, I was starting my teaching and coaching career, and my dad took his life, and my mom, it just destroyed her. This is my memorial to him. Of course, his flag, his hat, he was in the American Legion. Picture of him here. There's his piece from his bugle, the Bible he had in Korea, his watch, his grandpa's watch, my watch. This is a picture of him when he retired. This is a picture of my mother. My mother was 51, he was 54 when he died. 3 years later, she was dead and just gave up. It just destroyed her, gave up the will to live. This is a medal from the government of South Korea. They're thanking all American veterans for 60 years of freedom, and it's impressive what they do to thank American veterans there. But anyway, because of that, my dad, it's led to obviously the honoring of many veterans, educating many students, but I can't tell you the hundreds of examples of healing veterans from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and now Iraq and Afghanistan, who have received post-traumatic stress counseling, learn how to deal with all this, because it's a very, very challenging, difficult thing to deal with. And people like us who have never served don't have a clue. When my dad took his life in 1984, that was the beginning of Vietnam veterans coming out and saying they needed help. And then they labeled it post-traumatic stress. And everybody said that, oh, it's just the Vietnam vets. We just came home and got a job and sucked it up. That's not true. They all had problems. I've interviewed hundreds of World War II and Korean War veterans, several World War I veterans. They all said the same thing. The largest insane asylum in the world was in London in 1918 after World War I. They didn't know what to do with them, so they locked them up. The Civil War, they locked them up. It's always been there. We're not supposed to experience the horrors of war, but yet we do, and we still will. So as I learned this and realized we need to thank these veterans, we need to honor them. I don't care if the war is right or wrong. Thank you for serving. And my dad is the reason that spearheaded that and motivated that, and I feel like he's had a hand up above in all this, the healing and amazing, incredible ripple effect from this. It's been an amazing experience, and I can't wait till I'm reunited with him and give him a big hug and tell him how much I love him. In the Assembly of Honor in 2008, the assembly was interrupted when I was at the mic trying to thank and recognize veterans, and two members of the Oregon chapter Chosen Few organization, Lou Rumpakis, his wife Audrey, and Bill Chisholm approached the stage with a big box and said, "I'm sorry, there's something we need to do right now." The Chosen Few is from the Chosin Reservoir in North Korea, 1950. Unbelievable story. You need to look it up. You need to read about it because it's amazing what they did and accomplished there. Here is the famous breakout Waterhouse painting of the breaking out of the mountains of the Chosin Reservoir, and all of them have autographed it, and there's only a couple still living today. This here is a plaque that the Chosen Few Oregon chapter gave me in 1997, but they surprised me with this jacket, and it took them 3 years of collecting patches from veterans that have been coming to all the Living History Days. And as you can see, there is a lot of history here, and a lot of impressive patches. And I'm embarrassed to say I don't know what some of them are. That's my goal as I get retired and older, is I want to learn about all of them. I do know that there's some impressive ones. Of course, the Chosen Few, ex-prisoners of war, USS Indianapolis, the Tuskegee Airmen. I mean, I could go on. The 1st Marine Division, Air Cav, the 10th Mountain Division. I mean, I could talk for many of them. There's a lot of impressive things. And Audrey Rumpakis hand-sewed all of these on. And I never wear this except at veteran-related events where I'm asked to speak. I do not wear it any other time. I feel that it's only right to wear it then as a way of saying thank you and recognizing veterans. I don't feel it's right to wear this in public, but it's an amazing gift.
What about Ken Buckles here?
Looking Back with Buckles is a series of short stories with Ken Buckles. This web series is about past and present veteran friendships, awards, medals, and gifts Ken has received, as well as many other stories related to Living History Day and Remembering America's Heroes events. To find out more or to watch another short story, visit backwithbuckles.com.